then they should know where first aid kits are. Okay, so strong health and safety policies lowers the chances of civil lawsuits being filed. But if you are injured or you do get sick and you do notify a supervisor within 30 days, then you do qualify for workers' compensation. And when companies are creating their health and safety policies, then a lot of times they have to create what is called a risk assessment. And risk assessments is a process of deciding what possible harms there are to the people of the workplace, and it's a way to determine how to eliminate and control hazards. And for employers, their approach to creating their policies should be proportionate to the size of their business. And in small businesses like this one, they would have more specific and strict, or less specific and more straightforward types of policies. And in all, there are lots of benefits of having good health and safety policies intact. Like one is the reduction of sick leave, another is it helps maintain your liability insurance, and another is it helps continue to have healthy and happy, motivated employees like the ones in the picture. Next, I'll pass it on to Alex. Thank you.
Okay, hello everybody. My name is Alex. I'm going to be talking to you guys about email and internet policy in the workplace. So basically, email and internet policy, it basically distinguishes what's appropriate to use in email and when you're browsing the internet in the workplace. It consists of things like employee policy, software procedure, and company equipment. So first, I'm going to start off with an example that we're all familiar with. It's just a reminder of what not to do with your email policy in the workplace, on a larger scale, of course, but it shows that there will be consequences for anyone who misuses emails or internet policy. So next we're going to talk about the email and internet policy in general for employees. So voicemail, email, and internet usage assigned to an employee's computer or telephone are solely for conducting company business. They're going to be job responsibilities that require access to internet and that use additional software. So software access procedure in the workplace, if you need additional software, in addition to Microsoft Office, you'll most likely need to be authorized by a supervisor, and then you're going to want to consult the IT department, and they'll help you install any additional things that you need. So company-owned equipment, it's important to remember that at every business, all the computers and tablets or any other devices that you're using belong to the company. It's not your personal stuff, so they have access to all the information that you put onto it at any given moment. So it's important to be careful what you put on that. Internet usage on company time is authorized for business use only. You don't want to be doing personal activities. Internet use brings the possibility of breaches to company security and the confidential information. It's important to keep that in mind also. More on internet usage. It's important to remember that under no circumstances should company-owned computers, devices, and other equipment be used during working hours to view immoral, unethical, or non-business related topics. This can get you in big trouble and probably will result in can get you fired. Social media with internet usage and email. Your employer most likely understands that part of what you do in social media is outreach that recruits new employees and enhances the company brand in general. This gives many employees social media responsibilities to their job description, including social media marketers, tech support, and recruiters. So some more on social media. It's also recommended that social media use to work-related content is limited to working hours, and it is also notable that employees are prohibited from sharing any confidential information to anybody outside of the working environment. Other important things to remember about social media is it should be a goal for all employees to protect the company's brand and reputation. You don't want to damage that. Personal lives of yourself and coworkers should not be online within the business. And ask for permission if you want to reference another coworker or a personal relation. So email usage. Email is also to be used only for company business. Company information that is confidential should never be shared outside the business unless you're authorized by a supervisor or your boss. Everyone should not conduct personal business using a company computer or email in order to avoid breaking business policy. So more on email usage, something to also be kept in mind when it comes to email usage is that if you consider forwarding non-business emails to associates, families, or friends, you may be wasting company time, so you want to always be productive. Also, any employee caught sending unprofessional email will most likely be a consequence. So discrimination also applies to emails and internet usage. So emails sent containing content that discriminates against protected classifications, including age, race, color, religion, sex, nationality, disabilities, or genetic information is prohibited in the workplace. Company policy also recognizes sexual preference and weight as qualifying for discrimination protection. Violating any discrimination policy is a big deal. You want to avoid it because it can go outside the company and get you in trouble with the law. So employee email, always remember that the company owns rights to all equipment that you're operating emails from. They can access your emails anytime they want, so you have to be careful and realize that it's not yours because the company can also view it. And that's going to sum up my role. I'm going to pass it on to our last member, and he's going to sum up our presentation.
What's up, guys? I'm Brendan. I'm going to close it out with cell phone policies. It's likely that most of, if not all, employees bring a cell phone to work, so it's important to keep policies in mind. However, determining when it's acceptable for employees to use their phones in the workplace depends on how big the workplace is, so it requires a balancing act. On one hand, employees aren't paid to converse with their family and friends, which causes the problem most of the time. So, on the other hand, the policy should not be restricted that you can't use your phone in work, like the manager should balance it out. Why? Employees, they might need to check on their children, most of them have families, or they might have to attend to more personal matters such as a doctor or pharmacist. Everyone in work has families, so it's important to keep that in mind. Employers should take their time to communicate their expectations of the policy regarding cell phone. The policy should be expressed as clear as possible so the employees know what it is, and it also should not discriminate against anyone, only apply to the employer. Effective policies, I'm going to give a few examples on how to show effective policies. However, if the business has less workers, then they should perhaps take a different approach when you want to state the policy. Some examples of policies could be employees should make personal calls during break or lunch just so it doesn't interfere with work, and it shouldn't be that long, no more than 10 minutes. Lengthy phone calls are not acceptable as they it may affect productivity. Some more examples, personal cell phones should not be used for business-related purposes unless the business phone is for some reason unavailable. And not only is it only in an office, but some people work on the road, for example here. So some examples for that could be turn off cell phones and silence before starting the car, or pull over to make a call or text. I mean, everybody knows how bad texting and driving is, so you want to not do that. The purpose of policies is to promote a safe and productive work environment and increase public safety. You don't want to interfere with what's going on in the office. And cell phones are one of the biggest distractions in a workplace, let alone everywhere, like in a classroom. So it's important to have a good policy. Some laid back policies, maybe if the office isn't as strict, could be cell phones can continue to be used for company business on a sporadic basis. However, only if it's okay with the supervisor. If it's not okay with the supervisor, then you really shouldn't use a cell phone in the office. And like I said, cell phones are a major distraction. It minimizes work, doesn't allow for focus. It can cause accidents, like I said, texting and driving. And even though people are still aware of all this, it still happens, which again why it's important for the supervisor to make the correct policy. Social media is taking over the world, as you all know. I'm sure some of you are probably on social media right now, but people can't really go a day without checking it, so it's more than just using your phone. And written policies allows, usually on the cell phone, one thing a boss can do is ban social media from the office, just so nobody can use it, and if you do go on social media, you'd be fired. How to make the policy. You want to write it, you don't really want to just state it, just so, and post it in multiple areas in the office, as well as hand it out to all the workers, just so they understand how strict the policy is. And when you write it, you don't want to confine the policy to just cell phone policies. You want to be more broad. For example, you could say, define the policy as communication devices, not just cell phones. And state who the policy is entitled to, and state what's prohibited if you do cross the line. And in conclusion, nowadays people rely on their phones to do pretty much everything, so banning phones is kind of a little overboard, and as a manager you don't really want to do that. But employees have took managers to court based off some policies. So you really do need to be careful as what the policy is. And that's pretty much it.